And pages like that can be found online or via BBS web servers, or DDNS web servers I should say, such as Night Owl, which was provided courtesy of Brian Martin. Should be live right now. Details are on screen. It's nightowlbbs.ddns.net, port 6400. A little bit later than advertised. Good evening. This is youtube.com/Wi-Fi Sheep Live. The time has just gone 2015 BST or GMT +1. Well, I think I just about managed to get all the right words there, but not necessarily in the right order. Hello, good evening, and a very warm welcome to 8 till 8 from youtube.com/Wi-Fi Sheep with me, Tom. Thank you for your company. Yeah, just a little bit late getting on this evening. A few little things to do, things to try and find. And I don't know about you, but I'm kind of getting to that point now where I know where things are and I put things in a safe place, and then I can't find them, and it's really frustrating. Whereas had I not tried to tidy up or put things in a safe place, I would know where things actually were. So, never mind. Right. Anyway, how are you doing? Thanks so much for joining me once again live for this, which is episode 18. There we are. I knew that. Series 3, episode 18 of 8 till 8 live here on youtube.com/Wi-Fi Sheep. As always, before we continue, we must say a huge thank you to, we will in a minute when my PC, there we are, when Windows stops lagging on me, we'll say a huge thank you to our Patreon and YouTube channel members. There they all are on screen right now. and you can join them either on Patreon. It supports me here on the channel and the things that we do. It's patreon.com/Wi-Fi Sheep, or alternatively, YouTube channel members, you can join and support me right here on YouTube. Just click that join button in the description or below this video /live stream. Support starts from 99p all the way up to £2.99. That's British pound sterling, and those prices will be converted into your local currency. If they can't be, you'll probably see it in US dollars. And a reminder of the show dates for things that are coming up that I am going to be at this year. So very shortly we have the Econet LAN party at the National Museum of Computing, Bletchley Park, Milton Keynes. That's Saturday the 7th and Sunday the 8th of June 2025. I will be there for both days. I'm hoping to bring some content with me, including 2 BBC Masters and my slightly controversial now RISC PC that you may remember from last week. That machine will be there as well. Later on in the year, November, Saturday the 15th, Sunday the 16th of November 2025, is the Cambridge Retro Computer Festival, and I have every intention of being there once again for both days. Centre for Computing History in Cambridge. Tickets for the Cambridge haven't actually gone on sale yet. Tickets for the Econet LAN party are selling out, and details of that should be in the description to this video. Failing that, a search for the National Museum of Computing will bring up the dates on the 7th and the 8th. Be great to have your company if you're planning on coming down, and I know many of you actually are, so it'll be a fantastic weekend. Really, really looking forward to it. Which brings me on to a reminder of how many more live streams we're going to do. We're going to break very shortly for the summer because I'm sure many of you are aware it's still light outside and we're getting some quite nice evenings at the moment, and I'm sure many of you potentially want to be elsewhere doing other things. So traditionally we don't live stream over the summer. We normally do this in the depths of cold winter. So I've decided we're going to run through until the 31st of May, so that'll be the last live stream from 8 till 8 for season 3. We're then going to take a break for the summer, and at the moment the initial plan is to be back at the end of November this year. However, if things for me change, many of you know that I'm trying to buy a house at the moment, which is not going particularly well. But if we manage to do something, then my priorities, as I'm sure you can appreciate, might be elsewhere. So we might be back in January, worst case scenario. So a couple of more editions of 8 till 8 for season 3. And thank you, obviously, for joining me, and for those of you that have joined me throughout this current season 3 of the live stream. Drinking tonight, I have an IPA, which is why I couldn't get any words out straight when we started. But I'm sure by now you know exactly what I was talking about, what I meant. So, right, so we're going to have a break from doing the Acorn and the BBS and the RISC PC stuff, because we've been doing that basically every week for the past few months, really, trying to get ready, well, watching me trying to get ready for the Econet LAN party. So we're in a good place with that at the moment. So I thought we might look at a few other different things this evening. The first one, I'm just conscious about not knocking my beer over, is, where can I start? So, actually, yeah, before I forget, unfortunately, a bit of sad news just before I continue. We had a chicken go down. For those of you who know, I keep chickens, and I have a garden farm channel called Grow Up, which hasn't had any content on it since last summer, so I do need to go and do an update. I'm not actually growing anything this year, so it's my other sort of my garden horticultural agricultural project, and I have a flock of chickens, and I sell eggs and etc. Yeah, we had another one go down. My lights, excuse me, I drank the beer too quick. I had another chicken go down, which was a shame. So she wasn't well, and they don't last forever. So she just she was up in the morning with the rest of them and eating, and scratching around, and then I I went back in the afternoon. This was last Sunday, and I found her dead. She just went plop, and that was it. I just found her on the floor dead, which was a real shame. So yeah, it's not unexpected. We've had this quite a lot. It's not bird flu, he says, because our poultry has been, by government orders, we've been had a lot of poultry down, so they haven't been out for months. So that's probably the stress that's probably done it. They are now just coming out of lockdown, but yeah. So I probably do need to do you don't really want to hear me rambling about this here. I do need to do an update, probably in the greenhouse or something on the garden channel, just to kind of talk about that project and what the plan is going forward. So anyway, right, back to technology, 8 till 8 here on youtube.com/Wi-Fi sheep. So yesterday, it's been a long week, but yesterday, Friday, I was sent via work. So for those of you who don't know, I am a mechatronics technician and teaching assistant / very part-time lecturer for Harper Adams University. And work sent me with a colleague to do a presentation assembly at the Shrewsbury School, which is a very, very posh private school here in Shrewsbury, Shropshire. And yeah, and we were asked to do a live presentation demonstrating some of the robotic platforms and technology we have at Harper Adams. So it was very much a suit and tie, and I got we don't really have a formal uniform, but it's like, do we have the college tie, the college shirt, you know, the branding on it. Just I thought I need to look very, very smart indeed. And yeah, so quite an experience, but it does give me an opportunity to share with you. I have one of the Works robots. So this is Atlas, which is an autonomous buggy system, primarily driven from a Arduino 2560 Mega microcontroller. This is a orange pip clone variant of it. And this is a platform that we developed in-house, or it's actually developed before my time when I started, by a colleague of mine, Sam Wayne, who's the senior mechatronics lecturer. And Sam developed Atlas, which is an artificial intelligent robotics platform that we actually use for teaching. I have shown it on the channel before, but the last time I think it was on the channel, it was just this off the shelf stock RC remote control chassis, and it was some laser cut plywood, and the custom bespoke PCB was fitted on top. When I came along, I actually developed this body kit, which is all just 3D printed PLA, multi-part PLA. So it just makes Atlas look like something. It also allows us to mount sensors such as ultrasonics. It kind of deliberately is meant to look like a face, so it actually looks like something. And also it allows us to have fleet numbers, because there's 14 of these, which I actually spend my time maintaining as part of my job. So this is EO2. This is number 2 from the engineering fleet. And so hence we've got the brand Atlas class. And also, obviously, we've now got the brand for the university, as I was very conscious that the originals, you know, a lot of people were interested in them, but they didn't look like anything, just a set of wheels on a PCB. So they kind of needed to have, you know, look like something and actually have some branding for where they come from and who owned them. The other addition that I added is actually here at the front. So I'll show you this. This is off-the-shelf AI camera module. It's called Husky Lens. You can buy them off Amazon. I think we got ours off Amazon. And they're only about £57, so they're not terribly expensive. And I'm going to have to put this down because it's actually quite heavy to hold. So let's just cut to overhead view. And if I can just maneuver this so you can see. Okay, so this is Husky Lens, and it's an AI camera, and it's attached, takes its power from the PCB, so it's 5 volt, it's actually 3.3 or 5 volt TTL compliant, and we've actually wired it up to tap straight into one of the UARTs, so it's RS-232 serial. If I turn Atlas on, this will start some charging, there we go, it boots up, and what's quite nice with the camera is that you've actually got a display on the back of the camera, so you can actually do settings such as object recognition, object tracking, line following. So we do object recognition. I don't think it's going to find anything, but let's have a look. Do you know what anything is? Can you even see on the camera? There we go. Bottle, maybe? It's having a think about it. Seeing if it can track an object. It's not sure what things are. But basically, you can train the AI side, and it's all built into this camera module. It might be a cat, dog or cat, apparently. Everything, before it's been trained, everything on Atlas is either a dog or cat. But if I just show you, this one is now powered up. So watch the front wheels. Let's see what it's going to do. Oh, there we go. Try and get that on camera. There we are. So you can see if I turn it, it basically geolocks, because it has an onboard compass, which is this module here on the back, and it's locking to magnetic north, or what it thinks is magnetic north. So as I turn it, it just wants to turn the wheels, and it's doing that voluntarily, basically of its own accord, due to the algorithm, the program that we've written in C with the Arduino IDE. And so I was demonstrating this yesterday, and sometimes it's just enough just to hold the robot and turn it a little bit. And how the people were amazed how it turns. There we go. So it's not remote control in any way, shape or form. It is derivative, or autonomous derivative, I should say. So it's a very, very cool platform, and we're hopefully this summer going to be developing Atlas 2, which will hopefully, we're going to switch from the AVR 8-bit architecture over to a 32-bit ESP32 architecture. So I have a new custom bespoke PCB done with new drop-in modules. On this current module, you've got the 2 motor drivers, because Atlas is a 4-wheel drive vehicle. The compass module I already talked about. We also have a GPS module, although you can see there's no lock on the screen for that at the moment. Doesn't generally work inside. It's not a particularly amazing GPS. We do have daylight light sensors, and we do have a potentiometer on here as well. So yeah, it's a very cool platform, and our second year students actually at work are currently using the Atlas fleets because they have a challenge as part of their degree. They're doing an extra credit module, and they're trying to program and train Atlas to do a series of outdoor and indoor challenges and tasks. Not too dissimilar from the robot buggy challenge that you may remember the video from last year, and I do need to edit this year's video, where students built their entire buggy themselves, but obviously we provide them with this platform, and these look quite good out on show. And obviously I took them to the Shrewsbury School yesterday. Got 2 of them, which I took set up slightly differently to demonstrate robotics. And I just thought, while they were with me, because I've got to go back to work on Monday, I thought while they're with me, I'll just take an opportunity just to show you, so you can see where we are with the platform. So it's very, very cool. I like working on this, and obviously with my own design for the body shell, and hopefully I'll have more influence, or will have more influence with Atlas 2. And I was almost at one point comprehending actually privately funding an Atlas, so actually having one myself that's not part of the work fleet. But we'll see how that goes, because it's not impossible just to borrow the work fleet machines. So I've got 11 in this condition. I want to get the fleet up to 14. I've got spare bespoke PCBs, and we've got enough chassis to do it, so it's just a case of running off. We've got Flash Forge printers at work, so it's just a case of running off the PLA shells and building up a couple more to put into the universal fleet, for both for exhibition purposes and also for our students to use. So yeah, very, very cool. Just wanted to share that with you. If you're interested, want to have a look at the libraries, because Atlas has a whole suite of libraries. This was developed by my colleague. And if we just go through to, I'll find it for you. And let me just dump the link. If you're interested, this is obviously. Let me just dump the link in the chat for you. There we go. Okay, so this is the GitHub for my colleague Sam Wayne, or swayne/Atlas on GitHub. And all the libraries that you can install as a set of custom libraries for the Arduino IDE are all here publicly available. So although this is a bespoke project, I would say unique to Harper Adams, we do use a lot of off-the-shelf components from elsewhere. And we have licensed this design out to other universities. So we're the originator. And there's a university, I think it's one in Canada, India, I want to say either Indonesia or Philippines, I can't remember, but there's a couple of places that are actually running Atlas fleets themselves. But we have, like, you know, the original master fleet that all these originate from. If you're curious about the libraries, so they're all here on GitHub. And that's Atlas, picture of Atlas in its original state. So that was kind of before I came along. That's actually a very early Atlas board. That's actually before I came along and did the development work that I did. And obviously my colleague has done a lot of stuff. So there's a quick link here for libraries. So if anyone's interested, you want to have a look at that, it's on there. And as I said, I've just put the link into the description. Or I should say the chat, rather. I have to say, it's quiet tonight. I imagine many of you are probably enjoying a beer in a beer garden. And I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Right. So what are we going to do tonight? Well, I've got a few projects that I really need to do. But to be honest with you, some of them don't really work that well in this live stream format. For various reasons. Speaking of which, I haven't got my there we go, sorry, just a bit of housekeeping. There we are. Right, we are live. Yeah, so they don't really work well in the live stream format because it is quite, how can I put this, when you're live streaming, if this makes sense to you. Okay, I'm going to sneeze in a hay fever is terrible, by the way, but okay, when you are live streaming, there's nowhere to go. We can't edit this out. And there's some stuff that just is a little bit fiddly and doesn't quite work in a live format, if you know what I mean. It works well. So when I do sort of rebuild videos or things, they work well as pre-recorded videos, you understand. But they don't work well well, I don't think they work well in a live format where it's, you know, we could be hours and not really get anywhere. So there's a few things I can't really do that I would normally do live, or, you know, I can't do live basically. And one of those is the C64 Maxi project. So you remember that, do you know what? Let's just collect my thoughts here. Right, C64 Maxi, you know, the clone bread bin C64. And one of the projects I wanted to do was to fit mine with a USB-C plug, basically. As a power supply, because the actual micro USB on it has failed on the board. Also, a lot of those seem to be frying because the PCBs are actually set upside down. So there's a heatsink on the ARM chip, but it's not rising off the board. It's just cooking the chip because the PCB's been installed upside down. So I wanted to basically flip the board back round the other way, if you know what I mean. Install the USB-C power supply so we can kind of like life extend that machine. But that means having to put new standoffs and all sorts in it, which I just don't think we're going to be able to do. I don't really want to do live, if you know what I mean. So we'll save that for a video for another day. What we can do live, and I need to move my beer out of the way, is... Let's have a look in the chat, by the way. Here we are. Is two projects, or two things I'd like to look at tonight. I'm just trying to figure out what I did with the box. So... things I've been putting off, but we can absolutely have a look at. So the Argon Lite, the Z80 modern computer system that runs BBC Basic, that was touted and made a lot of noise about how great this system was. I bought one. I bought the Olimex variant, and we've had a look at it on the channel before, and it's so a frustrating night to maybe go and look at that again. and we absolutely will. Other thing I would like to do, and I might do this first, is now I need to be a little careful here. So the R1 and the X1 are products from UE2, and these were sent to me for free as part of a sponsorship arrangement at the time, and I did a review video. I'm not being paid any more money now to talk about these products. So the X1, which is a x86 64-bit PC single board computer, absolutely superb, and it's so superb it's actually running the live stream that you're watching right now. It's my dedicated live streaming computer. So all the cameras, the microphones, all the slides, everything you're seeing now being broadcast live on YouTube is coming through or being generated through my X1 board, and it's been pushed in service ever since I was given the board for review, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's running Windows 11, and yeah, it's great. They also sent me this, which was the R1, which is their ARM variant, which wasn't as great, and the OS it came with, which was a Debian, I think it was all in Chinese, and you set the language and it wasn't, I just struggled with it, is basically what I'm saying. I will probably have to go and run in the other room in a minute just to go and grab a suitable power supply for it. So don't, well, it might boot up USB-C, we'll have a look. Anyway, right, so it uses, as a rock chip, I forget the exact processor on this, rock chip 3588S. So it's one of the better of the ARM processors. I always have liked rock chip architecture. It's what's running in my Orange Pi 800 all-in-one machine as well. And it is a nicely designed board, don't get me wrong, but the operating systems let this down, sadly, quite a lot. But what's happened recently, and if I just flick back, where are we, to the Arbian. So Arbian is a sort of generic open source version of Linux that runs on a multitude of single board and Pi clone computer systems, and basically there is a build for the UE2 R1. Which is community supported. It's technically an Ubuntu build, not a Debian. There is a Debian, there's a minimal Debian image, and there's if I've downloaded the desktop image, which I prefer to have run Debian, but this is what's available. So my thinking is to reflash the UE2R1, because I'd like to see if it's possible to use it as some kind of dedicated streaming or server. Two other projects I'd like to do is, I think I mentioned before, I'd like to look at running a 24-hour slow scan SSTV slow scan television service, not only on the actual airwaves but also via YouTube on a Wi-Fi Sheep channel 2 on YouTube rather. But I will need a dedicated machine that's able to run OBS and stream. The other possibility, or the other thing I need to do, is I am intending at some point of running my own BBS. So there is a possibility of needing a machine or a board that can just basically host a BBS server that people can either dial or log into. I've got these boards, they are powerful boards, and it would just be nice to push some of this stuff into service if we can get an operating system on it that's actually any good. So I think let's just, if we can, let's just plug this one in and just remind myself where we were up to last time. I don't know if it'll run off USB-C, but let's just give it a shot. It might not boot on USB-C. Let's just see. My gut instinct says no, it won't. So it's going to need a barrel connector. Right. which is next door. So just bear with me a moment, everybody, if you wouldn't mind. I'm just going to run into the other room. I'll be right back. Just need to get the correct power supply. So the power supply is the actual issue with these. They don't do like a UK variant plug. So, oh, excuse me, hay fever. So I'm having to improvise, but I have a suitable power brick here, which is fine for our needs. So let's plug that into there. Now let's plug on. Turn on rather. Okay, that looks better. That looks a bit better. So, anyone at home? He says. There should be someone at home. There was definitely an OS on this. This is where I probably gone and plugged the wrong USB in. Or HDMI. Oh no, there we go. Do you know what? Constantly I get USB and HDMI confused. Constantly doing it in the edits. Okay, so that's what we were left with last time. I don't remember doing that, in all honesty, but obviously I must have done that at some point. So what's that? That's the build of Ubuntu. But you can see what I mean. I haven't actually got a mouse plugged into it, but you can see what I mean about the language issue. And it's like, yeah, okay. So that's the stock OS that this thing is supposedly comes with. Let's just put a mouse in so we can. There we go. That's better. Saying that my I can only see this through the capture card, so I can only see what you're seeing. Because my monitor, it doesn't like my monitor, but yeah, it's all in. Yeah, this is kind of the problem. So it's just not set. The OSs are just not set up for Western English language at all, which was an issue. No such problem with the Windows build on the X1, but the R1, this was a common issue. So, tempting fate, can I reflash this? Because it's all off eMMC, so can I reflash this? Can I remember how to shut this down? Is this Ubuntu or is this I don't even know what OS this is. Does anyone know simplified Chinese? This is the problem, you see. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, that did something. Anyway, let's turn it off. Right. So you get the gist of what the issue with this board is. So if I can get something on this that at least might allow us to run some bits we want to run, it makes it a bit more useful and as a server machine or something like that. So the way this works, and I'm tempting fate because I've not tried this ahead of time. So let's just see how this works this evening. Basically, God help us. If I'm being very honest. So to flash I'm trying to remember how to do this now. So to flash this, because it's eMMC based, you go USB USB-C, and you plug that into your PC. I have done this before, but it was a while ago. I should have watched my own video back, really. Okay. Now, just bear with me a moment. I've got to go digging around in the download. So while we were or starting the stream this evening, I actually downloaded. Let's just find the download very quick. And cut. Okay, right, apologies, this is all going to go a bit weird now, but just bear with me. So okay, so hopefully you can see that okay. So I've got this image here, which is image dot. So do I need do we need to extract that? Yes. So let's extract this. So it's extract as a .img, so it's an image file. Hopefully I've got enough space on this without it affecting the live stream. Again, every week now it's don't do heavy stuff on the machine that's running the stream. Come on, it doesn't take that long. Well, while that's doing that, let's just figure out well, I try and remember where the software is that we use. So I think it's this development tool suite, if I'm right. Yes, it is, I think. Yes, I think it's that one there. There we go. Yeah. So this is the Rockchip development tools which we need. And basically we change this image, if I remember correctly. We're not upgrading the firmware. I don't think we download an image. So it's not found a device. It's just power on the device if it finds it first. Do I need to hold down a button on this, which I do? There we go. This is how it now says one. So it's found one device. So it has now found a device. The device or the board is now in its boot mode, if you like. And have we finished copying it? That shouldn't be taking. That is taking forever to do. Anyway, I'm trying to remember. So you... Oh no, there we go. We're done. Right. So that's the image. I think you go... where are we? Oh, I'll be lying if I can remember how to do this now. So, firmware, I think... Bear with me. That file. No. Upgrade. No. I think from memory you leave these intact. Firmware is a .image file open. Loading firmware failed. Oh, we had this last time. And I don't believe my version boots from SD card either, so you have to do it this way, but I haven't tried this. Let's just have a quick check back on the website. So yeah, right. I remember it being incredibly finicky before. Oops, wrong one. Apologies. But just check I'm not going completely mad here. So that image. Let me just hang on a minute. Yes. Right. Okay, so that's the Chinese version, that's the latest version. When I say the latest version, I mean stuff that actually worked right. Those you keep intact. Bin file, ID file, firmware. I wonder if it's just got too many. Let me just. I don't know if this makes a difference, but let's just cut the file name down because it's quite a big file name. Let's call it GName Desktop, just in case that makes a difference. So we go firmware. Nope, it won't flash. I've had this problem before with stuff not flashing. Yeah, and I think from memory this one doesn't boot from S. Yeah, so this is the issue, you see, where you just haven't got the support to get stuff to work properly, which is extremely frustrating. Not quite sure why this config. Oh, it has. Oh, it's put a config file in. Oops, back again. So, okay. Right, for some reason the board's just attempted to reboot. So let's just go back. I'm just going to do a reset quickly. Gut feeling this is just going to go straight into yeah, okay, so that didn't work. Yeah, so that's frustrating. It's going to be one of those nights where we're going to try and do stuff that is just not going to work properly. I'm not going to struggle too much with this as we're coming up to 9 o'clock now, so Yeah. That's annoying, people, I'm afraid to say. That is rather annoying. Just have a look in the chats. Martin, wouldn't it be done in the download image section and you change the path to the new Albion? I'll be very honest with you, I don't remember what I did. Which is half the problem. Yes, possibly. Don't remember that being the way it works, but no, maybe you're right. So while we're here, it's probably but you see that image just went straight through, fine. So which was what was frustrating. So I don't. That's the Chinese build. So I need to reboot and hold this on boot. You mean this image here, which I don't think from memory. That's what you change, he says. Yeah. Just reboot again. Put this into boot mode. No. I'm kind of curious why there's more than one user on this as well. Yeah, it's blooming frustrating. Very interesting why there's a separate user on this PC, but I'm thinking about it. Yeah, that don't work. Just put that back to where it was a moment. But good thing. I appreciate the thought. It's just frustrating, basically. But yeah, no, I do totally appreciate the idea, and it's totally worth it to have a look. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, we'll probably have to leave that there because I honestly don't have a clue why that don't work. It probably wants to be flashed to an SD card, but I know this one I don't think boots from SD card. So yeah, but we'll probably need to leave that there. But again, copy what's currently there in the text file. Yeah, I'm a bit late now. I appreciate the thought. Frustrating. Right. So, from one frustrating thing, which is like meh, to another frustrating thing that's like meh. So, I will get this working at some point, but you just get to the point where it's like, you know what? And I hate to say it because it should be a really powerful board, but you get to the point where it's like, sod it, we'll just use the Raspberry Pi. Because, what's that, Martin? Arcade Dev Tool. Yeah, that's what I'm using. The PDF. Read the manual. Because that would be boring if we read the manual. We want to sit here and watch me not know what the hell I'm doing, because that's fun. Read said manual. Fine. Fine, we'll read the manual. Okay, fine, yeah. Apologies, right. The manual, people. Here we are. Yeah, so you load the config file, which is what we've done. If we haven't broken everything. Yeah. Upgrade firmware. Click firmware to select the image, but that doesn't work because it doesn't like the image. You can download it at the loader, or firstly click firmware. Yep. Yep. Okay, yes, so it finds it. Firmware. Oh, do you know what? One more try then, but I'm not convinced. And I would like to move on this evening, but we'll try one more time just to see if it will go. But as I said, very, very frustrating at the best. Assuming I've not now messed everything up, but let's just check. So, where are we? Erase flash firmware not loaded. Right, firmware. That's the firmware. Firmware failed. No. Erase all. Nope. Nope. I probably have to have a better look at this, really. I was hoping I could just remember what I did, but yeah, it's not going to work. Because if I try that one, for example, see how it behaves differently. Well, it doesn't tell me we're doing anything, but Might actually... Oh no, there we go. So that one works. Yeah, we've done that bit, right? That's now loaded, yeah. Anyway, you get the gist for this. It's not particularly amazing. So... Is that going to do? I don't know. I cannot remember how I did this now. Something's working, but it's not on the image we want. I'll be very honest with you. In relation to eMMC based boards, so those have flash memory, there are better ways of doing it than this. And some of the others have had much better ways of doing it. This is just a pain in the arse, basically. The Pi one we did the other week, or, well, actually we haven't. Have we done that the other week? No, you've not seen that yet because I've not done a video on it. So the Pi one I've done the other week with the Pi Compute module for the RISC OS. That was a little bit tricky, but we got there in the end. But yeah, okay. That's a success. So what does that mean? Right. So if I now just do a reset of the board. Anyone alive? Or is that it now? Helps if you actually plug the HDMI cable in, which I haven't done. Right, that might help. Let's do another reset. See if we get anything. Don't think we will. If we don't, we're moving on. Oh no. Okay, so we've not bricked it, but we haven't really progressed. So that's awkward. So I'll have to see if I could figure out what's going wrong there. But we're not going to do that tonight. So it's either going to work or it wasn't going to work. And unfortunately, it's not going to work. So we'll move on. Right then. So the next thing I want to look at is, which I did say we were going to return to, I was looking at the Olimex board. So let's just figure out how to shut this down. Just plug a mouse in, that helps. Okay. Okay, there we go. Right. Thank you for your suggestions, by the way. I appreciate that, Martin. Yeah, no, you probably are right. A lot of this is just, it's trying to learn how things work. It's having the time to learn how things work, in all honesty. And unfortunately, as I keep saying every week, time is not on my side with projects at the moment, which is a real shame. But it is life, and I'm sure many of you can relate to that. So let's just take this out at the moment, and let's say hello to the Olimex board. So I'll just pop you two out the way. Now the Olimex board, or basically the Argon Lite 2, the Olimex build, the Argon Lite 2. Again, just a reminder for those of you that don't know what this is. This is one of these modern 8-bit computer systems. And the chap that ran this, forget where he's from Europe somewhere, ran a very, how can I put this? The campaign he ran on social media to promote his product basically was at the expense of the 8-bit guy David Murray and the Commander X16. So he basically took content from the 8-bit guy's channel and used it against him to promote, to basically slam his product or project, to basically promote this as being much better. That personally I just felt was a little bit nasty and unnecessary. So it kind of put my back up, and why I didn't really go with this originally. Other people have sort of referred to this in the same bracket as our own Tiny Basic Computers and Project Rio, which is the 8-bit system we run here on Wi-Fi Sheet, which we've not done anything on in a little while actually. I do need to do some updates on that because I have been working on some stuff which I showed you. Oh God, it's been a month or two now where I've actually got the filing system on our system working properly. And I know many of you are waiting for updates, and I'm waiting to do the project. So, but I bought this because it's always worth seeing. I hate to say the word good to see what the competition is doing, but because it's not really competition. You buy this as an out of the box ready to go board. Mine is a kit project that you put together yourself. So you physically build a computer with Project Rio or Tiny Basic. With these, you're buying an off the shelf board. It's probably not too dissimilar to, anyone remember the Colour Maximite or the Maximite 8-bit project out of Australia from a few years ago? It's kind of in that vein. Let's plug in. So in order to plug in, it outputs via VGA. So we'll need to put an adapter in so you can see VGA on screen. Get that in the right way. There we go. It powers from USB-C and it stores its operating system, and I've been running it with BASIC on SD card. Martin will no doubt in a moment tell me to read the manual again, which we... The sad thing is you're absolutely right. And I know you're right. Right, so let's just power up and let's see where we are from last time. So I'm just going to pop you back there. So put USB-C power in and it should boot us up. We make a beep. Anybody home? I can assure you this was working before. So let's go in there. You're powered up on there. I did have this working before. I've actually, do you know, I've had a lot of trouble with these HDMI to VGA adapter boards. They just don't, or converter boxes, they don't work that well, especially the cheap ones. They are, how can I put this, a little bit on the unreliable side, to say the least. So let me just have a quick look to see. So I've got another one we can try. I wish I knew what it was and why they're just haphazard in working, not working. Let's try that again. So that goes output. I'll just show you what I'm doing. So these adapter units are a real pain. Goes into input. That's output. So basically we've got to go from VGA to HDMI in order to go through the capture card so you can see on the screen. Just make sure that you can. Yep, that is reset. So the good news is, people, that for whatever reason has stopped working. Great. So let's just... Oh no, there we are. It's now suddenly decided to work. There we go then. Right, so boot, at the moment it's set up to boot straight into the Z80 build of BBC Basic. Now the issue we were having last time we looked at this board, was that although I could write BBC Basic on the system, I'm just going to plug a keyboard in because I didn't plug a keyboard in earlier. Right, hopefully that will work. So if I go, oh, yes, it does work. Not mapped correctly though, but it's just there we go. C dot. There we go. So it basically runs BBC Basic. So it's the same pretty much as the BBC Micro. The issue we were having last time, if you remember, was that we couldn't give it save programs on another computer like a PC and expect those to run. So if I try to load DD, for example, dd dot bass, it just keeps saying it's a bad program, which is really quite annoying, all things considered. So you should be able to just have, it must be to do with tokenizing, but basically you had a basic text file or text file on PC. In fact, let's just, we'll turn this off. Now we've got it running. Let's just turn it off. And if I take, I said tonight was going to be frustrating. If I take the SD card out and we pop the SD card now just put the cable in the right place. So got power cables everywhere. Every night we do this. Power cables everywhere. So let's pop them there. Okay. So USB SD card reader. In like that. Let's pop that into PC machine. Again, apologies, all going to go a bit weird now. There we go. So we'll just close all that flash stuff down a moment. Right. Okay, so hopefully it sees the SD card. It should see the SD card. Yes, it does. There we go. Oh, that's interesting. D is not accessible. That's interesting. How weird. So now the PC won't even see the... That's fantastic. I'm having a great night, everybody. Okay. Well, how on earth is... Okay, great. Right, so let's try just putting the SD card on micro SD into a full SD card reader. Let's try that, see what it does. Are you actually kidding me right now? What? Okay, so the... Right. So the fat format SD card can't be read on this PC. So it could well be corrupt, he says. As we're absolutely 100% not getting anywhere this evening, is it worth reflashing the SD card? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what I'm thinking here. So basically, if you do a Google search, you can come to this GitHub, which is Argon Software. And this is a lot of the software projects, including stuff such as... so there's only one very small internet browser, but basically got all the different sort of project software, including... So we've got games. And there is a graphical... Someone's attempted to do a graphic on a version of... I did see it here earlier. I thought someone had done Elite, but I can't see it now. Okay, doesn't matter. Let's go through to complete operating systems, because there is a port of CPM. There's also a port of RTOS, and there's the TRSOS as well. Basically, because this runs as an Z80 processor, so I'm wondering about, do we try and run this board with CP/M, which I've got to be honest with you, I've only ever used CPM once before, and it was a genuine build on an 8-bit machine, Z80 8-bit machine. But I'm just kind of desperate to get this board to do anything remotely useful. So again, if we get anything working tonight, it's beyond me. But excuse me. Right. So BBC Basic is embedded. Do I have to compile this, or can I just run? So there's a CPM bin image here. Ah, that's what I want. So a lot of this stuff they want you to build ahead of, you know, to compile. So if I go argon cpm.zip, just download that. And then let's extract all. Okay. So cpm.bin, mods.bin. So machine operating system, which is what the Argon needs. So I'm now thinking, do we, if there's something not right with that SD card, but it doesn't take a genius to work that one out. So do we reflash our SD card so it can be read, because we can't do anything at the moment? So let's format again. Because we clearly weren't getting anywhere before. Okay, format failed. Really? Let's just try a... I'm not having a good night, people. This is one of these frustrating nights where nothing is going to work properly. But this kind of gets me back to... I mean, I don't want to sit here and slate off the... Or slag off, sorry, the Argon Light. But it's not as easy to work with. It might do more stuff. It is technically more powerful. It is technically more capable than what we're doing with Project Rio. Okay, so it's probably not fair to do a direct comparison of the two, or to compare my Project Rio, with Commander X16 from the 8-bit guy, for example. But what I would say is, although my project is frustratingly lacking in some areas, at least the SD card stuff does actually work. You can take the SD card out of it, put it in PC, create basic files in text format, save them in Notepad on the SD card, and then take them back over, put them in the machine, and it will actually run the code. We couldn't even get that running properly with this, so it's extremely frustrating. I'm not saying this isn't a good product. It's certainly a very interesting product, but it's not quite... How can I put this? It's not quite what it was billed as, if you know what I mean. And it does lead to some other very interesting questions about basically about how new build 8-bit computers... What's the words I'm looking for? New bit computers actually sort of gather momentum. And this comes back to the color Maximite system. And again, it's you don't have a critical user base, so the software doesn't develop. And that's kind of the thing that's put me off pushing with a kit product for Project Rio, was not having the critical user base. The thinking for kind of tiny basic computers and Project Rio, if you can call it that, the thinking was that it was more about the build. It was the journey of the build, of actually building a computer out of parts, out of chips. I've actually got the rig. It's just up here, actually. So this is actually, it's all over the shop at the minute, but the Project Rio build we've currently been using. It's more about kind of the build of the system, getting stuff running, and I'm hoping to kind of make that into more of a sort of chips on or ICs and components on a dedicated PCB, rather than this kind of cobbled together nature that our system is at the moment. Obviously, with the Argon Light, it's a board which you have in a box, and yeah, it's a Z80 attached to an ESP32 effectively, and they share a common RAM chip module. So basically it does allow you to peek and poke into memory, and the video side of the system does respond to that. But I do have to say, I've been just a little bit disappointed with it, being brutally honest. How are we doing? Let's have a look. Come on, there we go. Do you know what? I don't want to sit here and we'll cancel the formatting, because this is doing my head in. Right. Can we just get... Right, yeah. Format the drive. Cancel. Hang on. Right. Right. Format drive. Right. You've all seen that. FAT32. Yep. Start. Okay. Windows wasn't able to complete format. What on earth has gone wrong with that card? Seriously. Try that again. So basically, we're going to live stream trying to reformat an SD card all night. I knew. Do you know what? When I thought, what are we going to do tonight? And I was like, this is what we're going to do. And I knew it was going to be extremely painful. Oh, God. You know, at this rate, we'll be doing stuff with the switching over the Ethernet cards in the Master 128s. Because oh, that is a pain in the arse. That really is. I tell you what. Over to you, watching peoples. Just because I'm actually very curious about this. So, wrong camera. There we go. Just out of interest, what's everyone working on, by the way? Is anyone doing anything this evening? Or got any projects they're working on? I'd be very interested. If you want to put that in the chat, we'd be very interested just to kind of, listen to or hear what other people are doing this evening. I've got a fair few things to be getting on with. I mean, the RISC-PC is over there. I did try to install more software other than what we did last week. And I've suddenly remembered why RISC OS frustrates me so much, which is that a lot of the codes or the software, the games, etc., which should work and did work fine on earlier Raspberry Pis, like the 32-bit Pi, original Pi 2, that kind of thing, suddenly don't run on the Pi 4 compute module at all. And RISC OS doesn't have, it does have like an ARM compatibility mode built in, but that option wasn't available if you're running on the newer ARM architecture. So that was extremely frustrating, that half the stuff I want to run on this machine to show at exhibition, I blooming well can't run. So I'm just like, that is extremely annoying. One other thing I want to do is, you might remember we talked about this. I've still got the cards lying around. You remember these? So this is BBC Micro sideways RAM expansion boards, and I was kind of hoping to potentially get a Model B that could be a dedicated BBS machine. Now you might remember, and again, huge thank you to Brian Martin for sending me, he sent me a link cable, and I set up, that's the wrong one, and I set up using an old Pi, I think this was a Pi, what was that? Pi 3 B+. So I actually set up a dedicated Pi modem, basically, which allowed via serial interface, USB to serial interface, allowed for older machines such as the BBC Micro to actually tap online. You remember we actually logged using a BBC Micro straight into Night Owl BBS, which was quite cool. But Brian helped me out hugely with that, including on the phone, telling me what the hell I was doing. So I really appreciate that. But basically what I would love to do would actually have a dedicated BBS viewing terminal, and it would be a good excuse or a good use for a BBC Micro. I'd like to do it on a Model B. The Masters can do it because you don't have the ROM for the BBS data viewing software. Then you have to look sideways load it into ROM, and the BBC Masters have the capability of doing that. The BBC Model Bs, which are the smaller, slightly smaller machines, don't have that as stock, and that becomes the issue. So you need sideways RAM. If you don't have a physical EEPROM, and I don't have a way of actually writing EEPROM at the moment, which is the problem. So if you don't have physical EEPROM, then the best way to do it is to be able to load it into sideways RAM using one of these RAM expansion boards. Now, I have expansion boards, but I don't have all the ROMs that they need to run. So people go, well, why don't you just flash an EEPROM to run those? If I could flash an EEPROM, I just flash the terminal software, the Comstar, I think it was called. I just flash Comstar to an EEPROM, and that would be it done. I wouldn't bother with the sideways RAM boards. So I'm a little bit stuck. Worst case scenario, I could just dedicate a BBC Micro or Master 128 to the job. And I've got enough of them. I've got at least 2 that are serviceable. So again, and a huge thank you to Richard Webb, actually, who kindly sent me the upgrade bits, such as the batteries and the multi-ROM that allowed one of my machines to be upgraded. So basically, it's become a huge community effort to get my stuff up and running. And again, I really do appreciate it. Let me just have a quick check back. Let's have a look. Just leave you there a moment. No, we're still formatting, people. So just back to the Argon unit. This really does seem to screw its SD cards up, which is annoying. So yeah, it's just frustrating, basically. I don't know about you. Where are we? So we've got about 20 minutes left of the live stream tonight. I don't think we've been I don't feel we've been particularly productive tonight, in all honesty. You know, some nights we just get loads done, and other nights it's like, what are we doing this evening? And it's not working. Yeah. While we're waiting, I haven't planned to do this. It'll be very interesting to see how well this works. Is if we'll just disconnect this for the moment. If I get a CPM running on this, that would be pretty awesome. But you know, it is what it is at the moment. So let's just pop that out the way. And I'll just show you where we got to. Just to remind you, really, where we got to with Project Rio. So this at the moment is the current Project Rio system, as you can build. And if you go to patreon.com/Wi-Fi Sheep, you can find all the details about how to build this particular rig. So it's similar to what we showed you with the Atlas robot earlier this evening. It's the Mega 2560, which is this controller here. Arduino, mine's an Arduino clone, but you could use a proper one. Small breadboard with SD card reader on board. And then I'm using an original Raspberry Pi Model B from 2012. And that acts as the video terminal. It runs bare metal using FabGL. No, sorry, not FabGL, beg your pardon. PyGFX is the library. Sorry, FabGL is the library that runs on the Olimex. So that's for ESP32. No, this runs PyGFX. So if we grab ourselves, if I can find one. These are the old Raspberry Pi 2 power supplies, which before Raspberry Pi did their own power supplies, where you were meant to use mobile phone chargers. Do you remember that? Meant to use mobile phone chargers to power up your boards. So at the moment, it works best by powering straight into the Raspberry Pi. That will change with later builds. Let's turn that on. And let's turn that back off again, because it does help if I actually plug the HDMI capture in, so you'll be able to see on screen. The nice thing about going for the Pi is that you obviously get composite video, so you can plug into all the monitors, or we can go via HDMI. So it's kind of a nice sort of compromise between what you want to do. So let's see if this boots. It should boot. So this is, there we go. So the first bit that boots is it's just a kernel loading for PyGFX. PyGFX is not a Linux kernel, it just runs bare metal, but it does that little setup stage. And then next bit, when the Project Rio, in this case, the basic kernel initializes, It just takes a moment. It waits for the terminal side to boot up, and then it initializes. So this is Project Rio, and if I remember correctly, if I type files, yeah. So last time I changed the files command. If you, I don't know if I've updated this yet. I don't think I've actually updated it. I must do that. Before, if you type files, you should get a list of what is on the SD card. Now, my SD card doesn't corrupt, it just works. So, for example, I have a file there called lines.bas. So if I go load lines.bas, and then I can list the program, there is the program, I can run the program, and there is a graphical demonstration running. And that's my system, Project Rio, which, I mean, I'm not trying to be boastful because I've had a lot of help with this, and we are based on other people's work. So we're using a tiny basic kernel that was ported to the Arduino platform. And also I probably should say, again, a huge thank you to Scott Julian of AlphaWorks over in Australia, who has also done quite a bit of work in assisting with this over the years. But the point I'm trying to make is that my system, although absolutely not perfect, does actually work. So we can go fcol0, no, fcol7. My system does actually work, and it is a system that you can actually build at home, which was the point of the project. No, it's not the greatest 8-bit computer that ever lived. No, it's not the greatest 8-bit system or project that's on the market at the moment. So, I mean, I'll fully accept that the 8-bit guys, Commander X16, Dave Murray, Commander X16 is far superior to what we're doing here. And theoretically, the Agon or Argon Light, whatever you want to call it, that we're trying to demonstrate this evening is also technically superior to what we're doing here on my system. The difference with my system is that it's meant to be a system that you build yourself at home. It's a true kit hobby computer. It runs BASIC. It has a little bit of memory. So if I go, I can't remember how to hashtag on this, because it's the wrong keyboard. Just bear with me. Keyboard mapping can be a little bit off as well, which is annoying, but just bear with me a moment. I shall find the hashtag very shortly. There it is. Okay. Hashtag mem. Okay, there we are. Right. So basically, you can see at the moment that we're running with 5.8K of RAM. So we're running with a little under 6K, 200K under 6K of RAM on the system. And I think this is set to 6K. So obviously we have a program in memory at the moment, which is the lines program, hence why we're not running at a full 6K. If I go new and try that again. Yeah, there we go. We have got 6K. So we've got 6K running on the system, 625 bytes free, and there's 4K of EEPROM available, and obviously you've got all the space on the SD card as well. So yeah, I mean, it's not the greatest system. I'm hoping to do, basically what I'm thinking of will be supporting the Atmega 2560. So the Arduino Mega system will continue to support that chip, which is a 8K chip. So there's 2K already used for the basic interpreter. So 6K will be available in basic for that. I'm also going to look at, or I want to use two industrial AVR chips. One runs, these are 40-pin DIP package ICs. One runs as a 4K chip, and the other runs at 16. So there'll be like sort of multiple budget versions. So there'll be a 4K system, and there'll be a 16K system, which is kind of what I'm thinking of doing. But the big thing is at the moment is the file system runs, and I think we should be able to load demo. Oops. can't remember this runs. No, it doesn't run. No, it doesn't run. I've basically been changing the syntax of my basic kernel around the place. So obviously I'm making commands that don't work. Never mind. It will all get sorted out in the wash. That's memory. Files, yeah. I think as I mentioned, I've shown this before, so we do have the Rio operating system shell, which I can demonstrate, but I haven't got the joystick installed. So at the moment, Rio doesn't work unless you've got the joystick installed. And it's an Atari standard joystick, so it goes into DB9 socket on the system, and that's tapped straight into the digital pins of the Arduino. We can try loading it. We can actually chain Rio. It will be flickery, but I can't drive the cursor, so we'll go. Do you want to continue? Yes. You've seen this before, so this basically is the beginnings of a graphical user, a glitchy graphical user interface called Rio Shell that my computer system is actually going to run. So it actually has menuing, but what you can do, and the reason I'm showing you this, although I can't run it without, it does have a cursor, but I can't drive it without a joystick. If I just clear screen and files again, so you can run elements of the operating system outside the OS. So you see something called keyid.bas. So if I go chain keyid.bas, it will actually run elements of the OS, such as windowing, outside of the OS environment. So this basically just tells you which key is being pressed, which key number, ASCII encoded key number. So as I type the keyboard, you can see the number changes. It's in green. And that's useful for programming to know where your keyboard inputs are. So 3 to 8 there is space. Control and Alt aren't mapped. Shift's not mapped either. Arrow keys all do the same, and I think are mapped to escape. So, but yeah, just little things like that. So if you had the fire button on the control, you could jump straight back into Rio Shell. Escape, which I hit a couple of times, and you see we now break out, and we're now back into basic. So we can, oops, CLS, clear screen. And we can just call colours, a bit like, I've basically been inspired by BBC Basic and what I remember in the sort of fluidness of BBC Basic. So, for example, you can just call colours. So F cold 0, type in black, F cold 5, in this case it's purple, and then I can go B cold, so foreground colour, background colour, you get the gist. B cold 0, and if I CLS, we've now got a black screen and purple text. So it shows you how very quickly you can get graphics up and running. There are other commands from memory. We can call rect, coordinates 100, 100, 300, 300, and that will draw a rectangle in the foreground colour on the screen. So very quick and diverse way of having a graphical system, if you like, a basic system up and running that you can actually build yourself. So this has turned into a sales pitch for something I'm not even selling yet, but you get the gist of what we're trying to do here with Project Rio. I've got to be very honest with you people. I wish I hadn't had a drink now. But I will be very honest with you people. I don't think we're going to get the SD card formatted this evening to get the Argon or Agon Light up and running. Yeah, very, very frustrating live stream this evening. I had to be honest with you. Very little of anyone else's stuff has actually worked. So, I grab this, just grabbing this off the shelf just over there, plugging it in, powering it up, it's actually behaving itself this evening. So if you are interested, there is the entire Tiny Basic Computers and Project Rio series here on the Wi-Fi Sheep channel. If you haven't looked at it already, it's playlists. You can just search for it on the channel. I've got playlists for both projects. What I'm showing you this evening is Project Rio, which is the expansion of the original Tiny Basic Computers project system. There is a Facebook group you can join. I do have a free download version of the Tiny Basic Computers kernel, basic kernel. Project Rio is in its own tier on Patreon. It's only Patreon compatible, or did I give it to... I'll have to check. I think it's only on Patreon, but I have a feeling I may have actually offered it out to YouTube channel members. It's amazing what you don't remember what you've done, especially if it's been a few months. But basically, the Project Rio stuff is available, and obviously by you, I'm not selling it, but by you becoming either a YouTube channel member or Patreon backer, that basically, I think, I've got to be honest with you, I think it's only on Patreon because it is a higher tier. Project Tiny Basic Computers, I think, is available on. It's quite bad. I don't know. Being honest, I'll check. I think one of them, Tiny Basic Computers, which is in the general downloads tier on Patreon, is also available to YouTube channel members. Project Rio is available on Patreon only. It's a higher tier, but basically you get everything, including all the ROMs and source code, in order to compile, download, and run a Project Rio system, as I've demonstrated here this evening. So the next step for me is, and I don't have the boards to hand, but I do have new development boards, and I'm going to build a brand new Project Rio system. We did have one which was built a little while ago in a ITX PC case, you might remember it. And it was all right, but it got a little bit buggy and was unreliable just with soldering joints. So I need to build something that's more accessible and more reliable for my system. I also need to do some work with Rio Shell to create a proper graphical user interface and front end for this system. But yeah, it's well worth, if you're interested in this kind of thing, and you can tap in at the very simple level with Tiny Basic Computers, which is simple black and white, low end. It runs on the Atmega 328P. So basically it runs on the Arduino Nano, and that runs perfectly fine. We've only switched on to the larger boards because we found we needed more RAM, more memory, more RAM. It's still the same AVR 8-bit architecture. Saying that, I do have an ESP32 build, which is not upgraded to Rio, but it's Tiny Basic Computers for Color, which is the version just before this, and there is a version compatible with ESP32. Doesn't have SD card support for memory, definitely doesn't have sound support because the sound support doesn't work properly, but it did offer a lot more RAM, like 32k of RAM for Color Basic, which is much more than what we're doing on the AVR systems. I'll just have a quick check, but no, we're not there. We're not formatting in time, so on the SD card. So I think we'll have to park that this evening. I think we're probably going to call it a night there. So it's been one of those streams, hasn't it? So thank you so much to everybody who has continued to stick around this evening. Yeah, so I probably need to plan what we're doing next week a little bit better. I was really hoping we might have got something to work just off the hoof tonight, but not to be. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found there's some value in this evening. I should be back, hopefully, and I'll confirm this near in the week. I should be back next week at the same time from 2000 hours BST, or GMT +1. Bear in mind, we're in British summertime. And this will be for another edition of 8 till 8 live here on youtube.com/Wi-Fi Sheep. A reminder once again, we are running up until May the 31st, and that will be the final episode for season 3 here on the channel. Show dates, I'll just remind you again. There we are. So the reason we're going to be stopping is that I'm going to be at the the National Museum of Computing. I always get that wrong. The National Museum of Computing, Bletchley Park, Milton Keynes, for the Acorn Econet LAN Party event on Saturday the 7th, Sunday the 8th of June. Tickets, I think, are still available, but please, please, please hurry. They're selling out. Going to be there both days. Going to have some hardware set up. Be great to meet you. Lots of speeches and talks and things going on there as well. So just be fantastic just to kind of hang out, really. Really looking forward to it. So that's why we'll be taking a break from 8 till 8 post the 31st of May. Cambridge Retro Computer Festival, 15th, 16th of November will be the one to look out for next. And hopefully after that event, we'll look at getting back to 8 till 8 again for the winter, he says. But I'll have to confirm if we'll be relaunching in late November or we might be launching in January, depending on where I'm at and what happens. So just a reminder right there. Once again, huge thank you to our channel members. There they all are, Patreon and YouTube channel member backers. Thank you all to all of you that do continue to support me. I really do appreciate it. And it makes, I would say it makes live streams like this possible. But tonight we have achieved very little of anything. But never mind, I hope you've enjoyed it. I did warn you it's going to be a frustrating evening. The time is just coming up to 1 minute till 10 or 2200 hours GMT +1 here in the UK. And we'll call it a night here on 8 till 8. Thank you once again for your company. We'll be back next week, all things being well, from 2000 hours GMT +1. Until then, thank you so much for your company. If you haven't done so already, please do consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you real soon. May I wish you a very good night. Good night.